Coming up in the news, the nation's leader leading off debate on the supplementary budget in the House of Assembly. The newly appointed chairman of the Bahamas Development Bank making his first official visit to Grand Bahama. And the mother of an 18-year-old stabbing victim speaking out tonight. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all, I'm Jamila Mizik. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news tonight, the nation's leader, Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis, leading off debate on the supplementary budget this morning in the House of Assembly. Prime Minister Davis explaining why the government made certain cuts within the government sector. Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis assuring Bahamians that the Ministry of Finance has begun the process to address unfunded liabilities.
This would include the creation of a sinking fund or funds to ensure that when obligations are due, we're able to pay them. It is for this reason the public will not see a line item for the $1 billion in the supplementary budget. But I wish to be clear that this administration does not intend to default on any of its obligations. This administration will address its financial obligations in an orderly and timely manner. We will not betray the trust of persons who have engaged in business with the Bahamian government in good faith.
The nation's chief also addressing the $2.1 million decrease in the education budget. He says the decrease was the result of the findings of an audit to remove all inactive persons from the payroll.
Other savings were identified due to the continuation of virtual learning, with certain expenses associated with in-person learning and thus not required for a portion of the school year. To be clear, the operations of the Ministry and the Department of Education were not impacted by this removal of inactive people from the payroll or the reduction in expenses due to virtual learning. The Ministry of Youth and Sports and Culture saw a $1.9 million decrease in its budget. That represented savings due to there being no Junk Canoe Parade this year. The Ministry of the Environment. The Ministry of Environment saw a $7.8 million decrease that represents monies transferred to the ministry related to the Bahamas National Trust, as well as the transfer of the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority to the Ministry of Works and Utilities.
He notes that the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction no longer exists. However, he says the nation's disaster response budget remains in place. Instead, it has been moved to the Office of the Prime Minister to go towards the Bahamas Disaster Reconstruction Authority. Davis adding that the budget cuts are simply instances in which the government has streamlined for efficiency or the funds have been reallocated to achieve the same objective.
Madam Speaker, in this budget cycle, we'll see the launch of the Public Debt Advisory Committee to strengthen the nation's debt strategy. We'll see the reestablishment of a fully resourced Revenue Enhancement Unit with the goal of minimizing tax avoidance and fraud. We'll also see the formation of the Revenue Policy Committee, comprised of our brightest fiscal and economic minds, to develop reforms related to revenue collection and policy. Our fiscal goals remain unchanged. As our term progresses, we will unveil further reforms to strengthen the country's revenue model.
Meanwhile, leader-designate of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, Michael PINTARD, was presented with the instruments of office at a ceremony in the nation's capital today. PINTARD was elected leader of the Free National Movement during the party's one-day convention in New Providence over the weekend. The Member of Parliament from Marco City will now serve in the halls of Parliament as leader of Her Majesty's Most Loyal Opposition. The Grand Bahama MP won by an overwhelming margin of 297 votes. His parliamentary colleagues Kwesi Thompson received 103, while Aram Lewis received 44 votes. In other news, the newly appointed chairman of the Bahamas Development Bank making his first official visit to Grand Bahama since assuming that post. During a press briefing, Senator Quintin Lightbourne outlined details of funding available to entrepreneurs in the blue, orange, and green economies. Shashina Farquharson reports.
Chairman of the Bahamas Development Bank, Senator Quintin Lightbourne, making his first official visit to Grand Bahama to further promote the role of the BDB and its initiatives.
Okay, some of the plans and initiatives of the Bahamas Development Bank and Grand Bahama is that we want to ensure that industrial industries are enhanced and developed. You know, as we all know that Second City, Grand Bahama is, targeted or labeled as the industrial hub. And that's one of the things that the Bahamas Development Bank wants to do to ensure that small business or persons that want to expand and create businesses through the Bahamas Development Bank, that we will be able to use or be a vehicle to ensure that those businesses come to fruition.
He says Grand Bahama is not forgotten, and entrepreneurs must take advantage of the opportunities that are available.
Now, the Bahamas Development Bank is on a new course where we want to develop green industries in terms of the environment, blue industries in terms of hydro and all fisheries aspect, and the orange economy, which deals with culture, that deals with the artisans, that deals with, plays, drama, theater, all of those things, videography. And that is where we are now at the Bahamas Development Bank, that we want to enhance the country in a plethora of areas.
He says the Bahamas Development Bank offers microloans and startup loans. Here's how you can access funding.
So we have an application process where you can go on our website, bahamasdevelopmentbank.com, and then also the Grand Bahama office is here. The staff is fully capable, that they'll be able to assist and walk you through the application process and what is needed. And I think that's one of the awareness that we want to do, that that we're here and persons are willing to assist, and I just want to let the general public know that there is avenues for you to try and expand your business.
As the youngest chairman in the bank's history, Lightbourne shares his passion for the advancement of young entrepreneurs and how the BDB can assist them.
As a millennial myself, I think that entrepreneurship and empowerment is something that we must strive forward to, and I think it's very possible that it can happen, and the Bahamas Development Bank will do everything that it is in its power to ensure that that becomes a reality.
Shashina Farquharson, ZNS Network News.
The mother of an 18-year-old stabbing victim sharing the hurt and pain behind losing her eldest child. She believes the recent spate of violence within the 8 Mile Rock community must be addressed on all levels. Shashina Farquharson reports.
A mother in the 8 Mile Rock community mourning tonight the loss of her 18-year-old son, who was stabbed to death just feet away from his home.
Rayvon, natural clown. Everybody who know Rayvon, clown. You could be going to something serious and he can come right there and he can joke. He can make you laugh.
That's how mother Charlene Farrison Jean described her 18-year-old son, who was recently killed near a business establishment in 8 Mile Rock. Rayvon Jean, she says, left his family and friends, as she added that he had a heart of gold.
They used to tell me, say, that's my baby, that's my favorite child.
Recalling the moment she found out that her son was stabbed, the grieving mother says when she received the call, she had no idea that he had died.
No, because when we reached the hospital, they seemed like it's just one little stab. I said, okay, just one little stab. They can stitch him up. They can say, come for your child, he good. Or if you have to stay 1-2 days, I wasn't prepared. I tell you, they told me my child was dead, and I still was telling everybody. He on life support, he in the coma. I don't know what was going through my mind. They're saying he's still alive, he can make it. That time he was already dead. When I go in that room, and she was trying to tell me, one of the nurses, I can't remember her name, but I thank God for, because she prayed with them. And she's saying they do the best they could do. I feel like that, it wasn't my child when he stopped. Like he's just stopping my heart, because what he gonna do to y'all for y'all to stop him like that? Ain't nothing he gonna do.
According to police reports, a group of persons at a business establishment were involved in an altercation where the 18-year-old victim was stabbed to the upper body. He was transported to hospital via private vehicle, where he was seen by doctors but later died.
My second oldest now, the 15-year-old boy, he ain't even cry yet. The little said every time I say, they still ask me when Rayvon coming home. They still ain't believe it.
Jean says her son always had a strange premonition that he would die before her.
Like, I have this picture on my phone. I always say, you see, Rayvon, when you do my obituary, y'all better don't burn me because I can hunt y'all if y'all burn me. I always tell him that. And I say, you see the same picture? Put this on my obituary. He say, I ain't putting that because I can dead before you. Think I want to see that? I can't see you dead. He always say I can dead before you.
She leaves this message to parents.
Keep the boys them home. Like, I know sometimes boys just hang out with friends. I rather them come. I used to tell them, you know how much time in here used to be packed with his friends? I rather them be inside playing game. You know where your children are. You know where your kids are. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Never.
Now, Rayvon was set to celebrate his 19th birthday on December 14th. Instead, his mother is left behind, making funeral arrangements for December 18th. Investigations are continuing into this matter. Shashina Wolf-Farquharson, ZNS Network News.
Now, a suspect in that fatal stabbing was arraigned before the court. On Thursday, November 25th, Jake Rigby of 8 Mile Rock was charged with murder and was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until March 21st next year. Meanwhile, police on Grand Bahama investigating a shooting incident which occurred on Friday night that sent 4 men to the hospital. Megan Shepard has that story.
24 hours after a double murder in the 8 Mile Rock community, police on Grand Bahama were once again called to the scene of a shooting incident, this time in the Freeport area. Press liaison, Assistant Superintendent of Police Steve Roll, says that shortly after 8 p.m., officers responded to the scene at Cornwallis Place and Columbus Drive.
Upon their arrival, they received reports that 4 males were shot while at a residence here in the Cornwallis. EMS attended the scene. 3 of the males were transported to the Round Hospital for medical attention. The 4th male would have fled the scene, where he was later transported to the Round to seek medical attention. The initial report is that 3 of the males were shot in the leg, and 1 of the males were grazed to the head. At this time, the injuries are non-life threatening, and we are still have this matter under active investigation.
Once again, ASP Roll is urging Bahamians, particularly young men, to find a better way to resolve conflicts.
Any matter when it comes to shooting is an alarm for the police, and I can assure you that we are doing all in our endeavor best to make sure this this minimal occurrence in Grand Bahama and even in the Bahamas. We want to urge the public to cease and desist and put these guns down. Like I said last night, we need to find ways to resolve conflicts among our young men, and hopefully that those who have any information in regards to this matter tonight, to feel free and call the police or the Central Detective Unit or the Criminal Investigation Department at 350-3106.
Now, while this matter is still under investigations and no cause of the shooting has been confirmed, ASP Roll did issue this warning as it relates to illegal gambling.
When it comes to gambling in the Bahamas, it's illegal for any persons to be engaged in any type of gambling unless you applied to the gaming board to have a license to operate any gambling facility. So we want to urge persons in the community who find themselves engaged in these type of activities to cease. And if you're found, you will be arrested and put before the courts.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Still on the crime beat, police are investigating an armed robbery incident. According to reports on Friday, November 26, shortly after 11 p.m., police received a report of an attempted armed robbery in the South Bahamia area. Initial investigations revealed that a female had arrived at her home when she was accosted by an unknown male who struck her to the head with an unknown object while attempting to rob her of her belongings. The male then fled in an unknown direction. EMS attended the scene and transported the victim to the Ram Memorial Hospital. Investigations continue. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this break.